Hello, everyone. Welcome to Humans of Talos. My name is Amy Simonisi, and I'm here today with Ryan Liles, Principal Engineer for Security Effectiveness here at Talos. So, you told me that you are on the Vulnerability Research and Discovery team, but you work in a little bit of a different niche. Can you talk a little bit about what you do just so our user or so our viewers have some context?
Yeah, absolutely. So my primary role is to work with all of the Cisco product teams. So anybody that Talos feeds security intelligence to, so firewall, email, endpoint, anybody that we write content for, I work with their product teams to help get their products tested externally. Cisco can come out all day and say our products are the best at what they do, but no one's going to take our word for it. So we have to get someone else to say that for us. And that's kind of where I come in.
Can you tell us a little bit maybe about, like, your personal journey, how you found your way into this space, how you found your way to Talos maybe?
Yeah, sure. It's a long and meandering story as most of them are, but I'll try to keep it pretty concise. Um, I got into tech, security specifically with internet security systems back in the early 2000s. Some of the old SourceFire folks might boo and hiss at that name, but there's a few of us still around, and from internet security systems, I was doing both performance and functional QA of their network security appliances, the firewalls and IPS at the time. And I got sent to Austin, Texas, 1 year for third-party testing with a group called NSS Labs. I really hit it off with the folks over at NSS Labs, ended up leaving IBM to join NSS Labs. I was with NSS Labs for about 5 years, and so I ran the testing department at NSS Labs. I was the director of testing services over there, and then later the senior director of testing development. So from there, we essentially built the tests and the harnesses that NSS used to test both Cisco and all of our competitors' products. I was there, like I said, about 5 years, and then I joined Cisco in 2015, just before the formation of Talos as an entity. So I like to say I've been here since the beginning. I wasn't technically a part of Talos at the beginning, but the group I was with got merged in very shortly thereafter. So I've been in Talos since day one almost.
Third-party testing, it involves coordinating with a lot of external organizations, and a lot of different standards groups, and you mentioned kind of just before this call, that it can be kind of difficult sometimes, or you have to choose your words carefully, things like that. What are some of the biggest challenges that you face when you're working across these various groups? And do you have like a particular method of overcoming them?
And the reason that I kind of fell into this role specifically at Cisco is because of all the contacts I made while I was working at NSS Labs. The third party testing industry for security appliances is like a lot of the rest of the security industry in general, very small. Um, Even though there's a large dollar amount tied to it in the marketplace, the number of people in it are very, very small. So you're going to run into the same personalities over and over again, kind of throughout your career in security. The same people, same personalities, different companies. And because I try to generally be friendly with those people and, kind of keep my network alive, I have a lot of personal relationships that I can leverage when it comes to having difficult conversations. And what I mean by difficult conversations is, again, if we've found a bug in the product, or if if a third party test lab acquired our product through means not involving us, and did some testing that didn't turn out great. I can have the conversations with them where we discuss both technically what was their testing methodology, how did they deploy the products, if there were instances where we feel that maybe they didn't deploy the product correctly, or there's some flaws in their methodology, being able to have that kind of discussion with a test lab while not frustrating them, it takes a lot of diplomatic skills. And so I think that's I think the biggest contributor to my success in this role is being able to have those conversations, leaving emotion out of things, and just kind of sticking to the technical facts and saying, here's what went wrong, here's what went right. Let's figure out the best way to fix this. And that's, I think, um, really contributed to how Cisco and Talos in particular interface with third party testing labs and maintaining those relationships.
I feel like people generally want to see one another succeed, and so, like, you have to lay the baseline down of, like, what happened, what works, what doesn't work, how do we move forward once we are on the same page there?
I think the overarching goal that we have, Cisco and Talos in particular, is keeping our customers safe, right? We
Mhm.
want to be the internet good guys. We want to keep people safe. The test labs, I think, generally want the same thing. They want to make sure that a company that is selling a product that they say protects people actually does protect people. And so it's always really helpful when we can find that common ground and say, listen, we're trying to protect people. You guys are just trying to make sure we're trying to protect people. As long as those two align, I think we can meet common ground and move
Yeah.
forward.
That's a lot about, like, the challenges that you face, but, like, what do you enjoy most about this role?
Honestly, talking to people.
Mm,
I'm one of the weird technical people that enjoys talking to people. I'm fairly good at talking to people. That's kind of how I ended up in this role as my career path has meandered through. Um, I'm good at working with people. I'm good at dealing with people. And for someone who is able to take a highly in-depth technical conversation and have that same conversation be able to explain that to someone who isn't highly technical, say someone in an executive suite, that's a skill that is really kind of lacking in tech quite often, because there's just not a
yeah.
whole lot of people that can act as that Rosetta Stone to translate between techie speak and non-techie speak.
Mm, yeah, I mean, I'm a former technical writer, so I completely get you there. It's a really a fun challenge for
It
me.
is, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a little bit about, your work life, everything that you do there. How do you recharge? Like, what activities, hobbies, are you into?
You could probably see behind me, I have a
Guitars.
handful of guitars. So
Yeah.
I think that's really a common theme across Talos is a lot of musical talent, a lot of musical instrument players. Very guitars very common. I've seen, violin, piano. Like there's really some impressive musical talent. I think that's one way a lot of tech people kind of tend to recharge. The other thing that I like doing is I am an avid motorcyclist. I try to take one or two fairly long motorcycle trips a year. This past year, I rode from Austin, Texas, all the way out to North Carolina for a couple of days, and turned around and came back. So it was about a 10-day motorcycle trip. But motorcycling really kind of helps me recharge as well. It's just a way to, get out, and when you're on a motorcycle, the only thing you can focus on is being on the motorcycle. So it really kind of gives you a chance to disconnect from everything and focus on just being there, which is huge for recharging.
So, last question is you shared with me that you served on the board of NetSec Open Group and also contributed to authoring RFC 9411, which has had a pretty big impact on how security devices are tested just across the industry. Can you kind of share what motivated you to, take on these collaborative roles, and even maybe like if there are other people out there who have ideas for ways to improve processes or standards, what advice would you give them to kind of help them take that next step forward?
So the biggest piece of advice is speak up. I think the thing that primarily motivated me, and then by extension Cisco and Talos, to get involved with NetSec Open and authoring RFC 9411 was frustration with the way that things were different. Everywhere you went, every test lab you went to, everybody did things differently. They measured things differently. And it was really hard to find a consistent way to measure device X versus device Y, because you've got different people testing different ways, measuring different metrics. And it was just really frustrating. And so that frustration kind of led to, again, speaking out and saying, "Hey, I'm really frustrated with this." And then finding out that not only were we frustrated here at Cisco, not only was Talos frustrated with it, but Fortinet was frustrated with it. Palo Alto was frustrated with it, right? And so once we got out there and we all started talking about how frustrated we were with the way that, no one does things the same way anywhere you go, we all got together. Fortinet, Palo Alto are both founding members as well as Cisco of the NetSec Open Consortium. We all got together and said, there's got to be a better way to do this. Let's make a standard, something that everyone can adhere to, anyone can duplicate, anyone can use. It's free, it's open. Let's write this and see if we can fix the problem. And it all started with just being vocal about it, admitting to other people, hey, I'm frustrated with the way this works. Let's see if we can
Mhm.
fix it.
Yeah, absolutely. So speak up, everyone. Do your
Absolutely.
part, make the world a better place, reduce those friction points and everything. That's really awesome.
Crazy enough, speaking up is the hardest part because there's always that fear that you're going to be the only one speaking up. But
Mhm.
9 times out of 10, there is somebody out there feeling that same frustration. Speak up.
Yeah, and it's like the moment before you open your mouth and say something that can be the hardest part. You just have to push the words out, do it anyway. Thank you so much for tuning into this video. If you like this episode, please feel free to go check out our playlist. We have tons of people from teams across Talos that you can hear from. Have a great day, stay safe out there, and we'll see you next time.